Hi, this is Ren.
And this is Casey.
And this is All Walks of Film.
Television edition.
Yes.
And today we're talking about American Horror Story Freakshow.
We both really liked the show.
Yeah.
And really enjoyed what it offered, even though I had some problems with it later on in the show.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen American Horror Story Asylum and Freakshow all the way through, and then I've seen bits and pieces of the first and third season.
Yeah, and I've seen all seasons.
Yeah. And I've always had some issues with American Horror Story, and it's really never been my favorite. But Freakshow is my favorite season so far.
And I think Freakshow, for the most part, is American Horror Story's strongest season.
Yeah, and we're going to have a lot of spoilers ahead, so for anyone who hasn't seen it, I would recommend turning it off and turning off our podcast and checking out the show if you can, because the show's pretty good. All right, so to start off with, just some sort of initial feelings overall of the season.
So I really like the fact that this show starred, for the most part, actual people with deformities.
Yeah, that was really great. And a lot of those people actually were not actors. The man who played the illustrated seal is an actor, but the woman who didn't have legs, I think, was actually a university professor. Ma Petite is not an actress either.
The world's smallest woman?
Yeah, she is the world's smallest living woman. I actually don't know if she is like all-time smallest.
I actually do think that there was one woman that was a little bit smaller than her.
Yeah, so. Yeah, but she is the smallest living woman. And I'm not sure about Amazon Eve. I don't know if Amazon Eve is a professional actor or not. But I like the fact that they had all these people who were interested enough in the story and in the characters to perform, even though they're not actors.
Right.
And they all did fantastically. Like, if you told me that and I had no idea, I would have been just like, nuh-uh, they're all, what are you talking about? Nuh-uh, they're all actors, sure. Meep is an actor as well. But they all did really fantastic jobs, so.
Yeah, for when they were in, before they were killed off and such.
Yeah. Acting-wise, there's one major weakness acting-wise, but other than Neil Patrick Harris, I think everyone throughout did a pretty stand-up job.
Yeah, it was an above-average season of American Horror Story Freakshow.
Yeah, I definitely think so, and most of the time, the promotion gets me really, really excited, and then the actual payoff leaves me feeling pretty cold. But in this case, I think they kind of tried to undersell the show beforehand, because the content's enough to get people excited, just like American Horror Story Freakshow, cool. But they didn't market any of the actual freaks on the show, just the normal lineup cast. And most of the promotional work was like, it was cool, but not like over the top, where once I saw the season, I was just like, dude, where's this, that, and the other?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure some of you watching it did have that experience, like, why wasn't there a sword swallower? Why wasn't there
I'm so glad there wasn't a sword swallower.
Performance?
Oh my god, I'm so glad there wasn't. That's like one thing I just can't stand, because I know it's real. I know it's not a gimmick. Like, and that freaks me out. I don't like that. It's like, I admire it, but I don't like it. I can't deal with it.
Well, and if you're familiar with modern day freak shows, since there's actually laws about the display of freak shows now, most freak shows are just that. You know, there are people suspended by hooks. They're sword swallowers, fire breathers, that sort of thing, because that's not exploiting people, and that's really what the controversy came into later on, was the exploitation of people with disabilities, and like that's That's the reason why freak shows don't exist today.
Yeah.
As we know of them.
Yeah. But,
you can still kind of find them here and there, but usually they're not allowed to call themselves freak shows.
Right. But overall, this season left me feeling more satisfied, just because I didn't have, like, crazy expectations going into it, like I did with Asylum and Coven.
Yeah. I will say that as the seasons progress, the show's becoming a lot less horror-oriented, which part of me likes and part of me doesn't like. I understand the gothic appeal of the genre of horror for things not always to be scary, but I do think that as the show progressed, it was less horror than most seasons before, except for Coven, which was basically the Craft TV show. So, if you like the movie The Craft, yeah, check out Coven, but I am not a fan of The Craft, and that is exactly what season 3 was.
Right. The other great thing throughout the season was I loved the intro so much.
Yeah, the stop-motion animation intro.
Yes! The stop-motion animation intro was good. I like their new spin on the theme song. Mm-hmm. Like, I like the way that they redid the actual theme song. I loved all the imagery in it. All the imagery I really, really loved.
Yeah.
I love the man on the stilts dragging the caravan behind him. I loved all the, like, really weird sexual stuff. Like, everyone, like, kissing each other and groping each other's junk and stuff, I was actually really into. They did a lot of homage to Freaks in History in the opening, which I really appreciate. And I'm trying to... there's just something, like, really enchanting but a little creepy about it. Yeah. I like it. I like the style of all the props and models and everything. It's very cute.
Yeah, on top of that, the production value in the show was very good, especially the head, the demon head.
Oh yeah,
which
so cool.
Is actually larger than the Statue of Liberty's head.
Oh, that's cool.
It's about 20 feet tall, I think.
Yeah. I'm glad that they showed it over and over and over again, because every time they showed it, it was cool.
And it was also on Elsa's bag.
Yeah. That was a nice touch.
Demon head.
Yeah.
And when it was lit up at night, it had this real cool look to it.
Yeah, it was super cool. And I love the designs of all the banners. All the banners looked great. I would love to have posters of all those banners.
Right.
That would be really cool if they released that. That'd be really cool.
However, I was a little skeptical about the show because I had actually emailed FX a while back and said you should do American Horror Story Carnival or Circus or something because there's so many different acts that you could do and play off of, and like Freakshow, a Freakshow would be part of it. I don't know exactly if freak shows individually existed. To me, that was more of like a sideshow.
Yeah, but that's the thing with American Horror Story is they're historically not very interested in being accurate. They sort of like take phenomena that happened at the time and really over fantasize it. Especially this season. Like, I agree with you, and I tend to really dislike stuff that's not historically accurate. But for American Horror Story, I've just sort of learned to accept the fact that it's just not going to be historically accurate. It just won't.
Right.
But it has something to offer anyways, sometimes. So I sort of take it where I can get it, kind of. But that's also part of the reason why it's never going to be my favorite show.
Right.
It's not my favorite show.
It has strong points, it has weak points, and it's something that you kind of have to take with a grain of salt because it's not grade A television.
No, it's not. Especially by today's standards.
Well, we live in the generation. Today, I mean
today.
We live in the generation after Breaking Bad, so...
You know, we have Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones, True Detective. Most things on HBO and Showtime are at least, like, good quality. And it just sort of depends on if you enjoy the material or not. Yeah. Which is cool.
Except the last season of Dexter. Good God.
Wow.
Is that horrible?
Oh, and Hannibal. Even Hannibal's, that's like a network show. Where I'm kind of shocked that they can do as much as they do. Like, that's insanity to me. But it's cool. I support it. Hannibal, I just finished first season of Hannibal. I enjoyed more than American Horror Story. And was genuinely more terrified half the time, too.
Right.
Like, really.
Hannibal doesn't really pull any punches. And for a network TV show, it's the ballsiest a network TV show has been.
Yeah. But overall, Freakshow I liked. And it was cool. We went in with sort of this, like, fandom for Todd Browning's Freaks, and right off the bat for the first couple episodes they were giving some filmic quotations of Freaks, and then by the end of the season they brought it back, like towards the end of the season-ish.
Yeah.
They brought it back and sort of brought it up like very directly, and you know...
I wasn't a big fan of the direct reference, but from my understanding... You liked it a lot better than I did.
I mean, I thought it was cute. I kind of liked that they did come out and say very directly, yeah, this is based on Freaks, because anyone who knows Freaks is sort of thinking you're basing it on Freaks.
Yeah, and for the whole season, I actually thought that the show was playing off the fact that most people hadn't seen Freaks.
Yeah.
And
then
this kind of put the nail in the coffin for that theory because, well, of course they have to reference Freaks because most of the audience doesn't even know that this movie exists.
Well, the other reason why I do like the fact that they do specifically say Freaks is, you know, I tell people all the time, go watch
Younger generation, by the way. I'm not talking about older generations.
But I tell people all the time, hey, go watch it. It's on Vimeo. It's free. It's short. Go watch it. It's fantastic. So it was anyone who watches American Horror Story now kind of has that recommendation. Oh, you should go see it.
Yeah, and we'll definitely link to it.
Yeah, definitely. Because it's a great film, and it's short. So, like, just sit down and watch it. It's 60 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, you can watch an HBO show, or you could watch Freaks, you know.
Yeah, and if you're a fan of horror, if you're a fan of circus oddities, and if you're a fan of just human drama, just check it out. I definitely think it's a movie that holds up, and it's a movie that you won't see today. Yeah, because a lot of these deformities don't really exist as much anymore with the increase
true.
of modern medicine and such, which, I mean, granted, in third world countries and such, you can still find these.
Yeah, that's true, but also I think part of it is nobody made a movie like Freaks, and I don't think anyone's gonna make a movie like Freaks.
However, with the success of this show, if this show is actually truly successful, we might see another iteration of it.
Yeah.
We did see sort of an iteration of it with HBO's Carnival.
Yeah.
But Carnival was more a fantasy show than anything.
Yeah, that's why I do really like Freaks, is it's very sort of more down to earth, which I like. It's not as fantastical as Carnival and American Horror Story Freakshow.
Right. And while there have been other movies that featured freaks, like a movie that I recently showed you, El Topo. Mm-hmm. So those movies do exist. It's just harder to find. I think Werner Herzog did a film called Even Dwarves Started Small that starred people of short status, which I don't really see as like freak status, just because like dwarfism, I think that's the proper term.
It is.
I believe that's much more common than any other sort of deformity that does happen, which I mean, I have
Today,
personally seen people with like hand deformities and all that kind of stuff. So it still exists. But
nowadays, I think most of the we do
there's
see
less
a lot
of a stigma to it as well.
There is, and we're seeing more and more people with dwarfism in television and movies, which definitely does give this impression that there's like it's a lot more of a thing now. But that's cool that you can do that now. It's cool because
all praise Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage, who is not cast as a dwarf anymore.
Peter Dinklage is a fantastic actor.
He's so good that nobody
see,
cares what he looks like.
I don't even see him as somebody with a disability. I just see him as
awesomeness.
An amazing actor who also happens to be somebody who is an LP or whatever the appropriate phrase is to call people of short status.
Yeah, because I mean, in Game of Thrones, he was cast to be the dwarf, but in X-Men, he was just a guy.
Yeah,
which was awesome, super cool.
Yeah,
he was just a really cool dude who ran around kicking butt. It was awesome.
Well, he was kind of a bad guy in X-Men, but yeah.
So he was still running around kicking butt. He was awesome because he was Peter Dinklage, and he's fantastic.
Yeah. So going back to American Horror Story, do you have any favorite episodes?
Favorite episodes? How about you go first? I'll think on it for a second.
I don't know if this is a cheat, but my favorite episode is a two-parter.
Really?
Edward Mordrake, Part 1, Part 2.
Mm-hmm.
I really thought that was the strongest. That was the strongest episode.
Yeah. I
like the conclusion of Twisty, even though as the show progressed, I missed him more and more. I really like the aspect of Edward Mordrake, who is actually based off of a real person who had an insane...
He did have a face in the back. He was a prince who was born with a face in the back of his head.
Yeah.
Rumor has it that it would talk to him and it would drive him crazy. Rumor also has it that it was the face of a woman.
Yes, the show did change that, which I kind of wish that they actually did go with the woman.
I mean, you can't quite tell. They don't... It's just a face. It's just a weird, gnarly-looking face. You can't really tell.
Okay.
As far as I think.
Yeah. So that was my favorite episode. I also liked...
But it was also cool because you learn about everybody. And you learn everyone's story.
Yeah, you learn all their stories. You find out all their backgrounds. And, I really liked when Twisty talked.
Yeah.
Because, like, he took his mask off and...
The effect was fantastic.
His whole jaw was out and he was, like, moving his tongue. And it was awesome.
Like, you could still kind of make out what he was saying, but the effect was really good, and I'm glad that they lingered on that effect for a while, because it was so good, and the more you look at it, the more freaky it is. It's not one of those things where, like, when you keep it in the dark, it's better than when you actually see it. When you see it, it's freaky! Dude! It's so messed up! Dude! But, I love that you learned more about everyone's story, and, for the woman who doesn't have any legs, that was her actual story, why she doesn't have legs in real life. Was they were amputated when she was 2 years old. That was really happened to her.
And if you watch the interview, she said that the reason why her legs were amputated was they don't really do that this much anymore. Mm-hmm. But back then they said if there was a problem with something, they just cut it off.
Yeah.
Part of it, like the way she moves and everything, seems like it's better for you to actually get your legs cut off, because then you can just kind of like walk around with them and stuff.
Yeah.
But it definitely makes you look less normal.
But she said that in real life she's had a full and normal life, and she's even had a couple of children with no issues.
Yeah.
And she's
doing
really
born sideways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's doing really well for herself, so that's cool. I like her a lot. In real life, I really liked her a lot. Well, I really don't know if I would call this my favorite, but one episode that really stood out to me was the episode of Pepper. That was all about...
That was a heartbreaking episode. That's episode 10, Orphans.
Yeah, and I love Naomi Grossman as Pepper. I really do. And it was sort of to try to tie together how she went from Freakshow to Asylum. Because they do very specifically make that parallel, which sort of makes you, like, mind kabloom, wait a minute, Jessica Lange is, and she's here and here at the, wait, what? But, whatever, it was cool. But Naomi Grossman was fantastic, and you see Pepper throughout her whole life, sort of, from the point where she's, I think, like 18. Going on, and you see how she's treated at home, and it's horrible, and it's awful, but it's also based on the reality, you know, of what actually happened to people like that when they weren't performers, when they weren't in freak shows and sideshows and circuses. If they were living at home, usually they were being horribly mistreated, and in a lot of cases, even when they were, you know, being exhibited, they were horribly mistreated as well. Yeah. It just sort of depends. I've also heard lots of great stories about people who were freaks and in sideshows and stuff who had great lives. But that sort of rampant abuse in a quote-unquote normal society is, I think, really what that episode was trying to get across, that I really liked and hit home better than the whole season had.
Right.
So, just sort of off the top of my head, I would pick that episode.
Okay. Favorite character?
My favorite character is the Illustrated Seal, always. From the first episode and forever. He's my favorite. He's cool. He's just such a cool guy. I just want to go to a bar and get a beer with him. He's cool. He's just like a cool guy. And I like his tattoos. And he was just, he's so charming, you know? I don't mean like in a girly, like, oh, he's charming, but, you know, he has a certain, you know, likability to him. And he was always doing shit. He always had shit going on with him that I thought was super interesting that they don't really highlight on. But, and kind of congrats to him for banging Jessica Lange, man.
Yeah.
I'm sure she's probably, like, really picky about the guys she sleeps with, so, just saying.
My favorite character was actually Amazon Eve.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Dude, awesome.
I thought Amazon Eve was really cool, and props up for giving the role to a transgendered character.
Yeah.
Transgendered actor.
Person. Yeah, in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who plays a woman in the show, but is transgendered in real life.
Yeah, but is a biological woman in the show, and super badass. Probably the most badass woman on the show.
Right.
Which is kind of a toss-up, I think, between her and Desiree, but I really think Amazon Eve was more kick-ass.
Yeah.
She was awesome.
On top of that, my other favorite character was Twisty.
Yeah, of course. That's what I expected you to say. That's why I was like, wait, really?
Yeah, well, character that was in the whole show.
Yeah, okay.
If I wanted to go with actual character, favorite character, yeah, Twisty.
Twisty was awesome.
Yeah. Dandy for a little bit. Once his mother was out of the picture, he became like this really interesting, suave character, and he kind of lost that in the last episode, which...
Yeah, he sort of resorted back to his, no, I'm a spoiled little kid bit. That was obnoxious.
I did think it was kind of funny, though, when, right before he got killed, he repeated the, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. I thought that was kind of funny.
Well, and that was the funny thing I had towards Dandy was for the first half of the season, I hated him so much, but I would always say that. I would be like, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, Dandy, I hate you, I hate you.
Yeah.
And I understand the irony that I sound just like him, but I hate him.
Yeah, but he was kind of an interesting character because I initially didn't like him, and then he became like one of my favorite characters, and then as the show like kind of dipped off, I wasn't as into him.
Yeah.
But that was partly because, like with any person, they usually resort to whatever their true self is, and his true self was really just a whiny kid.
Yeah, which is why he was so obnoxious.
But props up for possibly the most fucked up scene in the entire show. His mom and that one woman as the puppet.
I wanted to see more of that.
We'll talk about that more.
Yeah, I really wanted to see more of that because you only see that for one shot in the whole season. I actually expected him to do that in the last episode.
I expected him to do something way more messed up in the last episode.
Well, I expected after he killed them all to, like, make them into puppets and do, like, a puppet show with them.
Yeah,
I think that's too complicated for them to actually pull it off, and I think that's why they didn't.
I really wish that... I kind of wanted Dandy to have his moment, just for...
Yeah, Shooting Spree was just kind of boring.
Yeah.
Which, how jaded is that for us to say that? But it was.
Also, while watching it, I didn't consider it that bad, but they didn't have him reload at all. Ever. And he's using a revolver, which is either a standard 6-shooter, or every once in a while there's a revolver that shoots 7, but we counted more bullets
than 7. And it was a small revolver. I don't even think it was 7.
Yeah, more shots.
But it would have added to the scene. You know, he's sitting there, he's humming the Nutcracker Suite.
I could even see the way he would do it.
Exactly. Like, he's humming the Nutcracker Suite.
And he
like,
just...
do, 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 do. You know, just like really taking his time and not giving like, it would have added to the scene.
Yeah, it definitely would have.
I don't know why they cut it or didn't film it.
Right.
Really odd.
Also, I'm not sure this season added a lot of tie-ins with Asylum, and I don't know if the American Horror Story universe is going to try to tie all the seasons together, because right now it seems that that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, which
I'm not a huge fan of.
I don't like it because they have a reoccurring cast. It's too confusing.
Yeah, I mean, you have the most obvious, which is Jessica Lange in every single season. So it's obviously not her character repeated into different seasons.
Yeah.
Which her in season 1 was fantastic. Like, that's her best performance.
Yeah. The only person who character-wise repeats is Pepper. That's it. Right? Am I wrong?
No, you had Sister Mary Eunice, I think was her name.
Oh, I mean... no, I mean, like, as full characters, not for cameos.
And the bad guy from...
the Nazi man.
Die Hard.
The Nazi
Hans
dude.
Gruber, not Hans Gruber, but...
Yes, but that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, like, who was in both locations at once. She was in the Freakshow Carnival, and she was in the Asylum.
Right.
You know, you don't have Sister Mary Eunice or Hans Gruber going to the Freak Show or anything.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. But, alright, should we start with episode 1-ish? Just, like, generally the way it started?
Yeah, episode 1 started... At the very beginning, it started with the two twins...
Right.
And the music that was playing in the background was actually the theme to The Elephant Man.
Right.
And I know your initial impression of the twins was you hated them.
Bad. I really hated the twins, partly because they really overdid their clash in personalities.
Yeah.
But you have two people inhabiting one body. They spend literally every single second of all of their life together, and they're in a very secluded thing. They've only ever lived in this one house with one other person ever. Are you seriously going to tell me that they're going to be two entirely different people with nothing in common who are not close at all? Like, really? I'm not saying they can't be different. Obviously, they are different people, but their extreme personalities were too much. Like, they were a caricature. It wasn't realistic for normal people. But especially in that sort of really weird situation. Yeah,
and I'm not going to give Sarah Paulson, like...
Oh, it wasn't her fault. I think it was the writing.
Yeah. The makeup effect was really good, though.
Oh my god, the effects were so good for her. Oh, so good.
So I'm kind of torn with that, because, like, part of me wants to like praise the effect of her.
Yeah. Well, that's when she started out. I like the fact that they sort of consolidated the two characters to where they are distinctly different people, but are sisters and do have a connection with each other. So by the end of the season, I really did like Bet and Dot. It was just too much at the beginning.
Right. Once they started to bond together.
Yeah.
More and not have Dot's fantasies all about sawing her in
the fantasies were messed up, though.
I was actually surprised that there wasn't even a real attempt in the show for that to happen.
Oh, yeah, because they sort of, like, teased at it, but didn't do it.
And I was
like,
kind
they didn't
of
even really
expecting
get
Danny
close.
to maybe do something like that.
Yeah, especially when he thought he was marrying Dot.
Yeah, to...
Like, maybe talk about them being separated or something.
Right. And then perform it himself. And
he might have the next day. You know, like he did with the circus. He had that circus for, like, a day, man.
Yeah.
Like, man.
So,
Okay,
so Elsa goes around and she grabs them, and then they're part of
the freak show.
They're part of the freak show, and...
Well, they have their first musical number where Elsa sings the David Bowie song, which is really weird that they actually had a David Bowie song that was very obviously not from the time period. Like, very obviously several years later.
This show totally broke the fourth wall with its music.
Yeah, and I didn't like the musical aspect to it in general.
Yeah.
Most of the songs I really didn't enjoy. Because they didn't fit. Like, they just felt awkward. And you could have a modern song and redo it to where it doesn't sound really out of place like it usually did. So, which I think they did do with Gods and Monsters, but the I'm a Bad Girl song was just really too much.
Was that in the first episode, or was that in episode 2?
What? I'm a Bad Girl, I think, was in episode 2.
Okay. For the first part of the season, they had a different song each episode, and then they just
did away with it, which I'm glad, because I don't really know anyone who liked that, but I really didn't like it. I just kind of got bored with it.
Yeah, and also in the first episode, they decided to kill a police officer, which then started this whole like search, and then through that, one of the freaks was killed, and that was Meep.
Yeah, that made me so sad. I got really, really upset when Meep died. That was just... Okay, I'm gonna say it. I'm a chick. Okay, we have like a certain biological motherly instinct, and Meep was... He's not a child, I'm not saying it because he's small, but his character, like, he's so incapable and helpless,
yeah,
and I'm just like, you know, he was just so helpless and just torn apart, and it made me hurt inside, and that's what happens when you're a chick. Ugh, you just have to deal with that.
Yeah. Even though he was constantly, for any of you PETA people or, you know, people who love animals, he was constantly biting the heads off of birds.
That didn't bother me, but it's just because I know it's not real, you know?
Yeah.
Like...
Not in the show, of course.
Yeah. I just know, like, oh, that's not a real bird. I know he's not really biting the heads off birds. But, some interesting...
Might have to keep you away from Cannibal Holocaust then.
Oh, okay.
There are real animal killings in that movie.
Oh, yeah. But, some interesting themes throughout the series, which I thought were appropriate considering the time period, were, sexual repression for women and gay men. Very interesting.
Yeah. What do you have to say to this theory that I have about the whole season, which is, I kind of thought American Horror Story Freakshow was about the homosexual community. like it was like a metaphor. Characters. Well, not just that, but I think like the freak show and the display and all that stuff was like a metaphor for the whole community. Like they're constantly trying to shut people out, yet they put on lavish shows to bring people in.
Yeah.
And then there's inner conflict within the community of freaks. I mean, it since we know that Ryan Murphy is a gay man,
mm-hmm.
It definitely felt like he was making commentary on not only the repression and the hardships that gay people felt, but using Freakshow as a platform to talk about modern conflicts with homosexuality.
If I didn't know his other work...
With members in the homosexuality.
If I didn't know his other work, I might agree with you. But just because... And I'm not even talking about Glee. I'm talking about the new normal. I don't think Ryan Murphy is aware or thoughtful enough to really pull that off.
Right. Okay.
So maybe if... I mean, because he's not the only person in charge, and he's not the only person who writes. If somebody else had written it that way, I might believe it.
Well,
but I really don't think that Ryan Murphy did that.
Gay characters have been a consistent in pretty much all the seasons except for Coven. I don't remember there being a gay character in Coven. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But there was, what's his name? Zachary Quino. Played a gay man in season 1.
Right.
And then Sarah Paulson, who is a lesbian, played a lesbian in season 2.
Yeah, and it's really... And then looking back on it, it's
really
odd that...
The only actor that we actually know is like 100% gay, always plays a straight character.
Who has sex with women. It's very odd.
He has... Yeah, it's weird. Neil Patrick Harris is a gay man.
Yeah. Everybody knows that he's gay. He's very openly gay. Everybody knows this. But he doesn't just play straight guys. He always plays straight guys who has a sex scene with women. It's very weird. It's super, super weird. Like, I think that's why I've met, like, seriously, at least a dozen girls who are like, I don't care if he's gay. I still want to have his babies. Is because they're always seeing him have sex with chicks.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird.
I don't know. My first exposure to Neil Patrick Harris was him branding chicks in...
Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle?
Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. Yeah, he was like a womanizer, but he was like, hey, let's brand chicks. And I was like, dude, what the fuck? Yeah, so I was... But
I really hated his character. It's not just that he was Neil Patrick Harris. It wasn't that. It's just I really hated his character in American Horror Story because his character brought the entire storyline to a halt for 2 episodes. It didn't go anywhere. The dummy thing is stupid and has been overplayed and has been done much, much, much better. And it was really lame.
It was done better.
His magic is so
It was done better in fucking Goosebumps.
It was done better in Buffy. A lot of people, like, point to the dummy episode as, like, being really cliche. It was way fucking better than this shit. But,
and it drove the show to a halt.
It just stopped everything for 2 episodes while they had to have his fucking storyline that nobody gave a crap about.
But had one of the best moments in the show, which is the saw in half thing.
Yeah, the one thing. You took a really boring character we didn't care about and sawed her in half, and it was really gory and bloody, and it was cool.
Right.
That's true. That was, like, the only reason he was there, was to make that happen.
Right.
Pretty much. But also, his sleight of hand magic is the worst I have ever seen on film or in real life. He messed up
I don't know.
the easiest sleight of hand trick in the world, which is where you take, like, the handkerchief, and you show the audience both sides, and you pull something out from underneath it. I can do that. It's easy. It's not hard. It's the easiest sleight of... Well, I could explain it to you real quick, and you would know how to do it. It's not hard. It's literally the easiest trick in the book. Everything he did looked crappy and fake. And if people in the show...
I didn't think it looked that bad, but, you know.
I thought it looked horrible. But if other people in the show we're kind of like, wow, you're just like a 2-bit magician. I would see like, oh, you were intentionally trying to make him look bad. But it just came off as Neil Patrick Harris didn't know what the fuck he was doing.
Yeah, and it was...
I got very, very pissed off at his sleight of hand magic.
It kind of felt as the show progressed that writer's block.
Yeah.
Just, like, they didn't have enough material to put into 13 episodes. Like, I think that this probably would have been a much better season if it had stuck to 10.
Yeah, episodes. It could have easily lost like a couple episodes and been fine. Yeah. But it still has like all of my favorite stuff from American Horror Story in it, honestly.
Right. So tell me about that.
I did like Jimmy's character. I liked his thing with his hands, and his character throughout was really good, except for his love story with Maggie Esmeralda.
I don't know, his alcoholism got annoying.
Well, it wasn't his alcoholism. It was the fact that they sort of had alcoholism as like a contagious disease. Like, his mom reverted to alcoholism, so then he reverted to alcoholism, and then his dad did, and then Maggie Esmeralda did, and then What's-Her-Face did, and like everybody just started drinking and being like really bad drunks everywhere.
Also, this show had like a weird logic of freaks have freak kids, which, based on scientific research, is usually not the case. Usually people of like abnormal status, since it is a strong recessive... Yeah, it's an abnormality. Most people with deformities actually have completely normal kids.
Yeah, it's true. But, again, it's one of those fantastical element things. Like, at least in the book Geek Love, they intentionally do stuff to try to have freak babies. Which is cool.
I haven't read it.
No,
so.
It's a really cool novel, and it's not about this, but just sort of a backstory thing, is that these parents who are in the freak show, they keep trying to have more and more kids all the time, but they do like fucked up shit to have freaky babies.
It is like geek.
Yeah, like geek in the circus term.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
So like the mom is always doing messed up stuff to herself to try to have like really weird looking babies.
Yeah.
So
I saw that listed in the top 50 like most messed up novels.
It's so messed up. It's so good. But I love the scene where Jimmy and his dad get drunk together.
Yeah.
I liked that scene. I liked it. That was a good character building scene. I enjoyed it, and the acting was good. They were good drunks.
Well, Michael Chiklis is a really good actor. He was on The Shield. He was on the final season of Sons of Anarchy. He's been around, and I've liked him in pretty much everything he was in, except for the bits that I saw of Fantastic Four, which, I mean, those movies are terrible, so they're, I can't even blame him for that.
Right.
He was a really douchey character that killed Ma Petite.
Yeah, but I liked his character because he was a human being. He was fucked up and he was messed up, but he had a good side to him, and he was a dick, but he wasn't like really two-dimensional like Mr. Mustachioed.
Yeah,
which biggest disappointment of the season, the mystery of Mr. Mustachio's penis. What?
Yeah, like they kept on looking down and like
your penis. Oh my god! But like I thought because of those shows, and because of the way he looks, I was like, there's no way his dick's that big. No way. There's gotta be something weird with it. Like, he has, like, an echidna penis or something. Where, like, he has a bunch of different heads on it. Or maybe he has two. Or, I don't know. But, like, I thought it was gonna be something really weird. And we never know. And also, which you brought this up, the last we see him, he's in a box. He's been, like, really fucked up. And then we don't see him get killed. We don't see him escape. We don't know what happens.
So, possible returning character?
Or he just was in his box and he starved to death.
Yeah.
Like, we really don't know.
So, that was one of the things that was left completely open-ended.
Yeah, which I don't like, because Mr. Mustachioed, I didn't really like his character really ever, but he was a driving force. Like, he was an active character throughout the whole series, until the last couple episodes where they just sort of forgot about him.
Yeah, it was almost like he should have gotten put into a jar, too.
Right? Something like that. But,
But instead, Dandy got put into
the water tank. Yeah.
The water tank and
I love that
the
scene.
Houdini escape thing.
I love that scene. I thought that was perfect. Because, like, what really sealed it for me was when the three of them are all just sitting on a bench, literally eating popcorn. Just watching him die. Fantastic.
Yeah, which, when you think about it, is pretty fucked up.
Well, yeah, but that's what makes it, like, more horror element-y, is the, you know, the ironic nature to it. Which I dig, and they sort of had that throughout the season, and I really liked it. I wish that they made her a more interesting character, because I liked her story, but the lizard chick...
Yeah, it started off good. That's Meryl Streep's daughter.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. But she was really interesting, the way that, like, her dad actually, like, tattooed her face and split her tongue open. Like, that
and then
was
she,
cool.
like, was getting ready
boring.
to tar and feather her father, but they didn't kill him.
Yeah, but they did something to him, didn't they?
Yeah, they poured some tar on him.
Yeah, they tarred and feathered him, but I thought they did something to make him freaky. I don't really remember. Oh, another interesting thing that I loved was the doctor, who was, like, really cool with seeing his patients. So he was totally fine with Ethel being a bearded lady. He was able to help, Desiree.
Which is what doctors should be.
Yeah, exactly. But he was a cool character, and, you know, he was able to sort of help Desiree figure her stuff out, because she had 3 boobs, and she thought she had, you know, a penis and a vagina.
Yeah.
But it turns out she actually has an abnormally large clitoris. So it's not that she's a man and a woman. She's just, like, extra, extra, extra female.
Yeah.
Which she dug. She was really into that. But it was cool that he was able to help her out with that sort of stuff. And then he had to get bumped off by Dandy. Back when I hated Dandy a lot.
No, he didn't get bumped off by Dandy.
He didn't get bumped off, but, like, Dandy came in and broke his hand because he was gonna... No, it wasn't Dandy. No, it wasn't Dandy. It was Ethel's husband, the strong man. Because he didn't want anything to happen to Desiree.
Right.
That's right. I love the line he said, though, when, like, he introduced the two of them. And he was like, well, she's got 3 tits, a penis, and a vagina. What does that make me? The happiest man in the world. That was awesome.
Yeah, and then it was later revealed that he was gay, so, like, he was...
And he had, like, all of his stifled emotions. And
he was kind of mad that she was a she.
Yeah, he didn't want her to get rid of the penis, because that's what he liked. But that's
abnormally large clitoris.
No, but he didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's why I said that, was because he didn't know that. Yeah, Maggie Esmeralda, definitely the most boring thing. Definitely boring. I mean, her name, Maggie Esmeralda, the psychic, like, that's about as cliche as it freaking gets.
Yeah, and she
plays a terrible drunk. She's not interesting. The most interesting thing that happened was when her guts poured out of her body. That was the coolest thing.
Yeah, and, well, I didn't like her in season 3, so...
And I don't dislike the actress. I really don't. But, her character's just boring.
Yeah. So, going back to Dandy, he was definitely the most annoying character to start out with.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that was based on his growing up, never being told no.
Mm-hmm.
And his mom was a contributing factor to that annoying... Like, she was just so annoying. And most seasons, I have not liked this actress, except for season 2 when she played the Angel of Death. Yeah, she was fantastic as the Angel of Death, but... And I really liked her in the TV show 6 Feet Under.
Right. I didn't like that version of death. Not because I don't like it in general. It's just, it's so serene and sweet for something called American Horror Story.
I liked it because...
Like, she was entirely devoid of horror element.
I liked it because it was a comforting
it is,
presence
like,
in
I like
an otherwise horrifying situation. So it was...
Oh, you think it made it darker? That, like, that's the comforting thing?
Yes.
Okay, I can see that.
But going back to American Horror Story, American Horror Story Freakshow, I really dug this season up until Neil Patrick Harris came in, and then the show kind of fell apart.
Yeah, he just brought it to a grinding halt for no reason.
Yeah.
And Dot and Bet's storyline got really odd after that, because, like, I was totally cool with them, and then they're like, we're gonna go find someone to pop our cherry, and then they picked Neil Patrick Harris, and then they were fucking him for a while, and then he went to jail. I don't think they ever really knew why, but then they just sort of moved on and were cool, and then they tried to trick Dandy into thinking they were going to marry him, but then they actually ended up marrying Jimmy. So we went back to that storyline where Jimmy got over Esmeralda, who he had sort of let the twins down for, and they sort of ended up together without really knowing how or why, and suddenly she's pregnant with his kid.
Yeah. Also, before I forget, the Tupperware party conclusion.
Oh, so good!
Where...
and I love the Tupperware party idea with all these, like, 50s housewives getting together for a Tupperware party where they're actually being pleasured by Jimmy. I thought that was awesome. I wanted more, and that was only in 2 episodes.
But Jimmy was all drunk and sad.
Yeah.
And because Ethel died.
And apparently he wasn't doing a good job with the shocking.
Yeah. But then Dandy kills all the women, and they're all, like, bloody in the pool, and...
That was a great scene. And
it's really fucked up, and then he somehow convinces the police to be okay with just convicting Dandy.
Yeah.
Like, he points a gun at the police officer, or, like, no, he just offers...
He bribes the officer, yeah.
Bribes the police officer, which as much shit as you want to say about the police,
that happened way too easily.
Yeah.
He was just flipped on a dime.
Which I don't think will happen. Then he killed
But
Precious.
Especially not then.
Yeah, he killed Precious, right?
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
But there was one scene after the Tupperware party that I thought was so fucked up, where Jimmy's talking to some woman, and
the actress is Gabrielle something. Yeah.
But Jimmy's talking to this woman. Oh, he's in the hospital. He doesn't have any hands. You know, they've just been stolen from him. He didn't know that the dude was going to take both his hands. He doesn't have any hands. He's, like, in a hospital. He's all fucked up and doesn't know what the fuck's happening. And the nurse is like, one of my friends was at the Tupperware party. She's like, oh my god. That was messed up, because you know he's going to get, like, shit in that hospital.
Yeah, but I like the fact that...
I love that line, though. I love that scene. That was great.
I liked how he got lobster hands.
The wooden lobster hands. Yeah. It's like, they're perfect. That was great. I love the fact that he did that. One big problem with his character, though, he was always talking about, like, oh, I have to wear these gloves to be inconspicuous, blah, blah, blah. Dude, those are conspicuous as hell. You could probably hide your normal hands in, like, your pocket or something, and no one would notice. Yeah. Like, they're not so... Like, I've seen real lobster hands, and they're usually a lot worse than what it was in the TV show. But it's because you have the actual actor's hand to work with.
Yeah, it was, it was partly just a prosthetic. So,
like, they made it as deformed as they could, but it couldn't have been more so. And that's fine, I get that, but, like, his hand was normal enough that he could probably hide it without giant, like, cloven hoof gloves, too. Like, even his mittens... No, he had, like, weird mittens. And it was weird. And it just looked very odd. And he was talking about, like, oh, I love being up in Alaska because everyone wore gloves and I looked normal. So he knows he doesn't look normal with those gloves. Mittens. Yeah. No, they are mittens. He has mittens, but, you know, he's like, oh, he knows they don't look normal in Florida to go around wearing mittens. So I don't understand why he thinks it's so inconspicuous. But that's why I love the scene at the bar with his dad. His dad's like, take your glove off and reach for your beer with your real hand, and nothing bad will happen, and nothing bad happened. It's cool.
Right. So what was your least favorite episode?
My least favorite episode... my least favorite storyline was Neil Patrick Harris, and I think my least favorite episode was probably, like, third from last.
Yeah, that would be mine, too. Yeah. I mean... His
story's so boring. Like, it was so overdone, so predictable, so not interesting.
Yeah, and it drove the show to a complete halt.
Yeah, nobody else's story could progress because we had to focus on his character. And how weird and messed up he was, even though he was
So, my proposal for you, Ryan Murphy, if you're listening, probably not, but... My proposal is, if you're going to use Neil Patrick Harris, either have him at the very beginning, but do not just pigeonhole him like right at the very end and drive the show to a halt.
When other stuff could have been going on.
Yeah, or have him as a cameo or whatever. That's fine.
Yeah,
you know, because Neil Patrick Harris. Yeah, a lot of characters had songs, and you pick the one person who's on Broadway to not have a musical number.
I was fine with that. I mean, it wouldn't have killed me to have... He's a talented singer, but, like, I was fine skipping another musical number.
This is probably my least favorite performance of Neil Patrick Harris, like, ever.
Yeah, this has not been a good year for him film-wise, because he was not good in Gone Girl, either. Like, I think universally agreed to be woefully miscast.
Neil Patrick Harris just doesn't play off as creepy to me at all.
He can't do it.
Because he's too suave.
Yeah, and that's what he does.
Even when he tries to play creepy, that suave, narcissistic nature of him bleeds out.
Yeah. And it doesn't work well. It really doesn't. So
he needs to tone that down or just pick roles that are typecast for that.
Yeah.
Overall, what did you think of the season?
Overall, this is my favorite season. It is my favorite season, and I love all the smaller characters. I like that there is a large cast of characters to sort of pick from and follow. And a lot of really good, actually physically badass chicks in the show. With Desiree and Amazon Eve. They were fantastic. Loved them so much. And I don't know, there was enough going on that when one thing got really boring, there was something else that was interesting, which is why Neil Patrick Harris was the worst part, because he brought everything stopped. So
yeah,
really good Halloween tribute, really cool. And Elsa's suicide was cool. I liked it.
I thought she got off way too easy.
She got off way too easy, but they said so.
And my co-host had to go, but we had a little bit of a disagreement with the ending. I personally didn't like it. She thought it was a fitting end to the character of Elsa. Overall, I enjoyed the season, but I actually liked American Horror Story Asylum a little bit better as a whole season, even though I enjoyed parts of American Horror Story Freakshow much more.